We are in the beautiful outskirts of Otaniemi, nearly 500 meters away that side from the Aalto main campus. And on that side, you can see the beautiful Helsinki city. One of the distinct features of Finland and the Nordic countries is its greener environment. Unfortunately, not all the countries are as lucky as Finland. Out of many reasons, one of the most talked, debated, and thought reason is environmental damage. And unfortunately, the biggest problem is that any environmental damage that has been done or is happening anywhere around the world ultimately impacts the whole environment. Whether you are sitting in Finland, whether you are sitting in Japan, you are sitting in Antarctica, you are sitting in South Africa, it impacts everyone. In recent years, it has caused so much damage that all the environmentalists together are suggesting, and they are pretty much sure, that the sixth mass extinction is just around the corner. Now the question is that there are so many organizations doing something. There are so many countries changing their policies, reforming their environmental laws, and there are so many other things that are happening. But the biggest concern is that it is not enough. We all have to contribute. Now the question is what we can actually do. And my answer is changing our daily habits. I will be talking about 10 habits that are impacting the environment most and what we can do to prevent them. Leaving the lights on. Now probably you might have heard it millions of times, but switching off your light when you leave the room does make a huge difference, even if you are going for 2 or 3 minutes. Just imagine this thing, that you are having 20-watt bulbs minimum in most of the cases in a household, and when you are switching them off for 2 or 3 minutes, ultimately when you multiply it with the months in a year, it saves kilowatts of energy, and this energy is non-renewable, so you are actually making a huge environmental impact by just switching off the light. Even if you're seeing that your neighbors have switched on the light, you can just paste a post-it or something on their wall. Just remind them that, yeah, you have switched on your light by accident, just do check it. And another thing is that once before we go to sleep, it would take maybe 2 or 3 minutes to walk around your house and see that every light and everything is off or not. Number 2, boiling the kettle. Now many people guess how much amount of water they need when they boil the kettle. The problem here is that a kettle consumes so much electricity, which is enough to light a whole house. There are energy efficient kettles available, but most of the time when we are buying a new kettle, instead of looking for energy efficient, we go with the bigger brands. Another thing is that there are kettles available which measures that how much amount of water you need. So one good practice is that you measure with the cup or with the mug first that how much water you need, and then boil the water. When you are boiling more water which you don't need, it ultimately leads to really high energy consumption. Number 3, eating farmed meat. Now it might be pretty challenging for most of us to completely stop eating farmed meat because it is a general practice. Whenever we go to grocery stores, most of the meat which you are finding there is farmed meat. But the biggest challenge here is that it is an incredibly environmentally damaging industry. Many acres of rainforest are cleared to grow soy crops and grains to feed cattle. And overgrazing of cattle is a major reason for global soil depletion and source of climate pollution. You might also consider going vegan or vegetarian on alternate weekends. It will reduce significant amount of carbon footprint for an individual, and it is a really great idea. Number 4, commuting. Most of the people in a developed countries do own a car. But another question is that the public transport, as well as the bicycle lanes, the pedestrian ways, and everything is pretty well developed as well. It might be pretty hard for most of us to completely ditch our personal vehicle, but it would be a really good idea to use at least once or twice a week public transport as well as going by bicycle. Number 5, wasting paper. Now we all prefer to read through printed out papers, but once in a while to read through digital papers, for example from your iPad or from a website, maybe not subscribing physical newspaper but the digital version of that, and apply for electronic bills. It would save a lot of paper, and ultimately it will save a lot of trees, which are the main source of oxygen generation and one of the biggest friends of humanity as well as friends of biodiversity around the world. Number 6, tap water misuse. It is a general practice that when we are brushing our teeth or washing dishes, we keep our tap open, which ultimately leads to really huge amount of water wastes. We could follow some general habits. For example, when we are brushing our teeth, just switch off the tap, or when we are washing the dishes, maybe just wash them first, make them wet, then switch it off, then use the soap or anything, and then again when we are cleaning them, then we are switching on the tap. And another thing is that we can again put some post-its or something in front of the tap to remind ourselves or someone who is using them that yes, just use tap when it is necessary. One good idea which comes to my mind is adapting these automated taps which you press and they switch off automatically with the help of a spring. So it is not seen in households, which could actually help a lot. Number 7, separating bio-waste. Most of the time we are too lazy to separate bio-waste from plastic stuff or recyclable paper stuff. But think about it in a different point of view. When we separate the bio-waste, the municipality take this particular waste and they utilize it in multiple ways. It could be used as fertilizers, it could be used as filling the land side, and it could be used even in generating energy. But if we are mixing these things, it's a complete waste. Number 8, using plastic bags. Most of the time whenever we are going to any grocery store, we prefer to take the plastic bag from there. Now here it might be pretty difficult for us to completely stop using plastic bags, but we can definitely reduce it. One good example which comes to my mind is maybe taking our own plastic bag when we go to a grocery store, because plastic bags, they don't tear off that easily. Or maybe buying a good quality plastic bag which lasts for years, which would ultimately lead in a way that the companies would not be producing more plastic bags. Number 9, avoiding plastic packaging. Now this might be pretty difficult for a consumer point of view, but for industries it could be applied pretty easily, because most of our food, for example the bread, our meat, even the vegetables sometimes are actually packed in a plastic packing, and ultimately these things just end up in a garbage container which ends up in soil and completely breaks down the soil fertilization power. So what we should do is maybe encourage certain packaging of food which uses biodegradable material for that, and maybe spread this awareness around us so that most of the companies would be forced to use biodegradable material for their food packaging. Number 10, flushing the toilet. Now here we all might be thinking that how we can improve this thing. We do have to go to toilet, we do have to use the flush. But the point here is that just even 1 or 2 flush less in a whole day can ultimately save a lot of water. Now what we should do here is there are certain flushing system available which gives you an option that whether you want to use less water or more water. Even that small contribution ultimately would lead to less water waste. Thanks a lot for watching this video till the very end, and I hope that out of these 10 habits, if we implement few of these in our daily life, we would be an environmental and sustainability game changer. I would like to mention that when I was doing the background research, the website which is called onegreenplanet.org, the link is down below. They have really amazing content and really nice readings and articles, and most of my stuff has been completely taken from there. Thank you very much. Have a great summer ahead.